Ladies and gentlemen, we have some absolutely massive news today. So this morning, Donald Trump did a interview with Politico, and he spoke more about the situation in Venezuela. Yes, and he has warned President Maduro. He has said his days are numbered and he will not rule out a ground invasion. So not only are we shooting drug boats out of the Caribbean, we may now be invading Venezuela. I want you to look at this because this is very important, and this could really set the tone for the rest of his administration. I think this is going to be pivotal for what we see going forward. Take a look at this. President Trump warned in a new interview that Venezuelan dictator Nicolás Maduro's days are numbered, but he refused to rule out sending U.S. ground troops to depose the left-wing leader. He stressed in this sit down that Maduro could not be allowed to stay in power as the administration cracks down on the South American drug trafficking, but declined to tip his hand about what the United States could or would do to cause this regime change. And he was asked about how far he was willing to go. And you know just as well as I do, Donald Trump, when he's asked these things, he basically laughs in the reporters' faces, because what is he supposed to do? Tip off President Maduro, tip off Venezuela, just so this reporter could get her big scoop? Of course, he's not going to do that. So he just responded. He said, I do not want to say, of course, but Maduro could be in huge trouble. If I were Maduro, I would be sweating right now. I would probably dig a hole in the side of a mountain, and I might crawl in it, because you don't want Donald Trump's military after you. But he was asked if he actually wanted to see him out. And Trump said, quote, his days are numbered. But Donald Trump blamed the Caracas regime for sending drug dealers into the United States, including members of the notorious drug gang Tren de Aragua. Yes, they've been a scourge on the United States culture, on our society. And, we've been shooting these boats out of the water for several weeks now, and they keep coming over and over and over. And it's very interesting because Democrats, they want to try to lie to the American people and say that these drug boats are, in fact, just fishermen, just innocent fishermen in the sea driving around with, oddly enough, a bunch of square packages in their boats filled to the brim. And they get very upset when Pete Hegseth decides to send missiles and bomb these boats out of the water. So it's interesting to see how the Democrats are trying to frame this as if we should feel upset or we should feel bad that these drug dealers that are introducing drugs into our country, we should feel bad that they are being bombed out of the water. But I don't know about you. I don't feel bad at all. I am glad that Pete Hegseth is hammering down on these boats. And because, I don't want any more drugs like this in the United States at all. I think we have plenty of drugs in the United States. And this is one of Donald Trump's big campaign issues. He wanted to stop the drugs flowing in over our border. And this is just another one of those instances, just like China and fentanyl. But this is what Donald Trump said. He said, I want the people of Venezuela to be treated well. I want the people of Venezuela, many of whom live in the United States, to be respected. He says that they were tremendous to him. They voted for him 94% or something. Is that right? I didn't know that. Venezuela, the people of Venezuela, Venezuelans voted for Donald Trump 94%. I'm going to have to see that statistic because that's crazy. He says that he got to know the people well. They're incredible people, and they were treated horribly by Maduro. But now it gives a little bit more context into what is going on, what is happening in Venezuela. But it says since September the 2nd, the U.S. military has carried out more than 20 strikes on suspected drug smuggling boats in the Caribbean Sea and Eastern Pacific Ocean, killing more than 80 people. And, if those 80 people, if they are drug dealers, which I would trust that they are because Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump, they want to get this problem taken care of, I am more than happy for this to keep going on. I'm glad that they are keeping the United States safe from these drug dealers. But when asked by Burns if he could roll out a ground invasion of Venezuela to overthrow Maduro, Trump answered, I don't want to rule it in or out. So, of course, he's not going to tip his hand. He's not going to just let this reporter have her scoop. And then Maduro would know exactly what is coming down the pipeline. He's not going to do that. But he goes on to say, I don't want to talk about it. Later telling Burns that I don't want to talk to you about military strategy. Yes. Why would President Trump, why would a commander-in-chief talk to a lowly mainstream media, fake news media, Politico reporter about what he is going to do with the United States military? It makes absolutely no sense and is absolutely laughable. But of course, that's just what reporters do. They really just push and prod. And a lot of times, even if they know they're not going to get the answer out of the person or out of President Trump, they're going to ask anyways just to get the reaction, because Donald Trump does have a lot of viral clips, a lot of viral reactions. So maybe that's why she asked him, because depending on his reaction, someone just clip that, it goes viral. The interview goes viral, which, of course, anytime you interview President Trump, it goes viral anyways. And this was a great one. But Trump did, however, tell Politico that airstrikes targeting Venezuelan territory would happen very soon. So he did reveal some of what might happen in Venezuela. So we might be seeing airstrikes on Venezuela. The U.S. has already begun building up an amphibious force in the area around Venezuela, with Maduro responding by mobilizing his army and preparing for a guerrilla-style counterattack if land incursions or airstrikes occur. So this is ramping up really fast with Maduro. And then it finishes off. During the interview, Trump also suggested that he was open to launching the same types of strikes against targets inside Mexico and Colombia, both of which traffic more fentanyl into the United States than cartels from Caracas. So that is huge. Right there, President Trump might potentially launch airstrikes against the cartels in Mexico. Could you imagine? That would be absolutely amazing. That is massive. But while the White House blames Venezuelan gangs for trafficking illegal opiates and cocaine into the United States, a 2019 DEA report found that most fentanyl, the leading source of American overdose deaths, come from Mexico through precursor ingredients shipped through China. So what they're saying here is, there's other reasons. There's other reasons why I guess we are going after Venezuela. Some of those reasons are yet to be known to us. But one of the big reasons that we can use right now is attacking these boats. That keeps the United States safe. And that gives us a precursor, I guess, to put more pressure on President Maduro to do what the United States wants. Because, we are an empire. And while, I don't agree with really invading other countries just willy-nilly, I think if it's directly in the interest of the United States to go into a country to help our economy, to help our society, to help us as a whole, I think it's important. The issues I have with when the United States goes to war or uses military actions against other countries is the ones that are pressured through a foreign country, such as Israel. When Israel pressures the United States into going to war or into striking a foreign country, I have a lot of issue with that because I think to myself, how does that benefit the United States directly? When our supposed ally is trying to pressure us into doing these military strikes, how is that benefiting us? And I don't think it really does. But I think if there is a clear and concise argument as to why the United States is going into Venezuela, I am all for it because we are the empire and we have the power. But ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. But until then, I'll see you on the next one.